PaRappa the Rapper is one of the first modern rhythm games, resulting in a boom of the genre in the early 2000s to mid-2010s. A wonderful combination of corny but groovy music, shoddy but inspired mechanics, wonky art, and charming characters make PaRappa the Rapper a one-of-a-kind game. For real, name one game where rapping isn't the main mechanic other than the rip-offs, the spin-offs, and fucking this. So, what do you do after making a sleeper hit for the PS1 and nearly giving it an unofficial mascot? Easy. You make a second one. I mean, make a third one for the next generation of consoles. PaRappa the Rapper 2, which I'm just gonna call PaRappa 2 for the sake of my sanity, was given a warm welcome by fans, and is still loved to this day. But how much of that love is just nostalgia? I was a little goose raised on Nintendo. Despite the Sega Genesis and PlayStation 1 being two of the first hand-me-down garage sale consoles my family got, the Nintendo Wii is what got me into video games, and what inspired me to want to talk about and plan out video games of my own. Even if those ideas won't ever come to fruition. My point is, I never played PaRappa up until recently, and even though I knew who he was and what the game was about, I wasn't really interested until now. So, knowing that my mind isn't being shrouded in nostalgia, and also knowing what I do about other rhythm games, how does this one stand out against the rest? Well, let's find out in this breakthrough of how I feel about PaRappa the Rapper 2. For starters, the story of this game is insane. Allow me to summarize. PaRappa wakes up from a nightmare and makes his girlfriend mad because he didn't eat her cooking. Because he's eaten nothing but noodles for weeks now. Why is PaRappa eating only noodles? Well, for one, it's one of the few human foods that dogs can actually eat without turning into ghosts. But it's also because he won a lifetime supply of noodles from a burger shop. Why does a burger shop have a lifetime supply of noodles? No clue. Also, PaRappa's girlfriend is a flower, named Sunny Funny. Still following? Okay, good. PaRappa goes with his friend PJ to get burgers because he's sick of noodles. But all the burgers are turning into noodles for some reason. Also, this Afro guy sucks at running the restaurant, which is called Beard Burger. Stay with me now. Then, the late founder of the restaurant, who is called the Beard Burger Master, comes back from the dead out of a poster and has to teach the employees how to make a good burger because they're
still a bunch of babies.
Like, imagine inheriting your dad's business and being so bad at your job that he has to come back from the dead to help you. Now then, what I've just explained is only the opening cutscene and the first level story. The story of this game is dense, all over the place, and absolutely ridiculous. And if you think that the story being unrealistic is bad, I would like to remind you that you play as a talking dog. Somehow, this game is about PaRappa becoming a man, like the first one. And in some places I can see how that would work out, but for most of the game, no amount of cutscenes could ever make me believe that this is about PaRappa maturing as a young adult, and not some ridiculousness that came from a nightmare one of the devs had. Playing through the story of PaRappa 2 is like experiencing mental whiplash. You start by learning how to make burgers, and watching karate on TV, kind of modest stuff, even for a PaRappa game. Then all of a sudden you get shrunken down to the size of an ant and have to rap against one. And then it really throws you for a loop with the level where you have to train for war. And don't even get me started on the hostage situation. Despite the mess that this story is, it's a lot of fun, and it's charming. But, even if the look and sound of a game is important to your experience, the fun of a game boils down to, well, the game itself. So let's talk gameplay. PaRappa 2's gameplay is identical to the original, except it's more polished and a little easier. The main mechanic of PaRappa is copying what button input your opponent does, with bad playing resulting in a bad score. The ranks have a two-strike system going from good to bad to awful, and if you manage to be worse than awful, you lose on the spot. It's kind of hard to lose a level unless you have no sense of rhythm at all. I mean, while this game isn't easy, it isn't exactly Dark Souls. Now I know what you're thinking.
Goose, how can a game this simple be as intense or exciting as nightmare games like Osu and that arcade game with the name I can't remember?
Well, like this. Now earlier I said that playing bad resulted in a bad score, but what if you managed to outplay your opponent? One thing I love about this game is the implementation of allowing the player to improvise, and being rewarded for it if it sounds good. An absolutely genius mechanic for a rhythm game. If you manage to do better than your teacher twice in a row, you are granted the ultimate status of cool. Cool allows you to freestyle whatever you want, and grants you tons of points for as long as your freestyle sounds cool, with a special ending and a crown if you can finish the level with the cool ranking. But sounding good doesn't seem to be a huge concern of the game. Which brings me to my one complaint about the gameplay. Its definition of rhythm. There will be moments in PaRappa 2 when I'm doing a freestyle off of what my teacher says, but then get punished for it despite it looking good. I'm not trying to blame the game, but certain levels just stump me when I'm trying to get a cool rank on them because I can't figure out what the game wants from me. Whereas in other stages I can get a cool rank almost every single time. This left me really frustrated and confused on those stages, questioning the sense of rhythm that the characters in the game encourage you to have, and wondering why I can't manage to get cool on them no matter what I do. Once you get a cool ranking, it's pretty easy to keep it until the end because your freestyling doesn't even have to make any sense. It's less about making good phrases and more about pressing the buttons to the rhythm. This results in PaRappa constantly cutting himself off mid-sentence. Despite that shortcoming, PaRappa 2's gameplay is solid. Even if the game is short, there's a lot of incentive to replaying stages. Every time you beat the game, the difficulty of each level will raise slightly, with each song having well over 10 different lyrical variations. And the difficulty changes depending on how good you do mid-level, which is really cool. It helps the game feel consistently fresh and exciting each time, and makes every cool ranking all the more satisfying. Also, beating this game the first 3 times grants you different hats. There's no fat in this game, it's all been trimmed off. Everything here adds to the game in some way. And while I'm sad that the game isn't longer, I'm glad it's not padded out with a bunch of meaningless garbage instead. Also, you can skip the cutscenes, which is a godsend for this game, because 90% of it is just watching cutscenes. Now, I gotta talk really quick about the multiplayer. The battle mode is a beautiful thing that greatly encourages freestyling and can be quite a close competition, but it's all dependent on each player's sense of rhythm, as well as their knowledge of the level you choose to battle with, since each stage has its own battle mode. But sometimes you can just spam whatever you want, and the game accepts it. For some reason. It's not perfect, but it adds to the sense of replayability. And it can be pretty funny at times with friends.
Anything goes, even Chinese.
Rodney Greenblatt has a funny name, but he's also responsible for giving the PaRappa games their iconic visual charm. So, I don't want to make fun of him. Well, maybe a little bit. He did an extremely good job in most of these cases. Nearly every design in the games is unique and memorable, or just funny. While the paper-thin designs of the characters may be because of the PS1's hardware limitations, it really helped hammer in the uniqueness of the game, especially since they kept the style going into the next console generation. Then again, it might have been weird to see PaRappa in 3D. PlayStation All-Stars did a decent job at it though, despite being a dog-shit game. The characters are 2D, but the world they live in is 3D, which works perfectly fine. It's just, if you're not used to stuff like that, it's going to look really weird at first. I've never seen a game that looks quite like PaRappa that isn't a ripoff. Sure, the paper-thin models result in some strange-looking animations at times, but it adds to the weirdness of the game. The good kind of weird, I mean. The UI in-game has also been given a huge upgrade from the first game. You take a look at the original PaRappa, and it's alright. Even if it's a little minimal, it gets the job done. Then you move on to PaRappa 2, and boom! Everything is clear, clean, concise, and on top of it just looking much better graphically. It's a huge improvement on PaRappa 1, and it only adds to the charm of the game. Now, for the most important aspect of a rhythm game. The rhythms. If your game has music I can't vibe with, that's fine, I can live with that. I can just turn off the music and listen to other stuff while I play. However, that does not apply to rhythm games at all. If a rhythm game's music is bad, then there's hardly a point in playing. Rhythm games are all about getting lost in the music and going off of instincts. But if you can't even vibe, what's the point? Now, with that being said, this game's music is insane. Masaya Matsuda hit this soundtrack out of the park. For some reason, they decided to make all of the lyrics English. I mean, it's not a bad thing, it's just strange, I think. We have this Onion Man to thank for that. On top of everything being in English thanks to the Onion Man, he also made the music very good. Each song has a good, bad, and awful variation, and honestly, I'd consider each variation to be their own song due to how different they can be from each other. I'll play an example here. Each and every song in this game is a banger. I don't dislike the sound of any of them. And if I do, it's because I'm mad that I can't get a cool rank on them no matter how hard I try. I hate you, you stupid onion! But nevertheless, every song is unique to the teacher. And they're all memorable, in character, and fun to listen to on their own. Even if the lyrics are corny. And even sexual? Huh. I guess there's a surprising amount of innuendos that can be interpreted from the game's lyrics. But as long as you don't have a gross, dirty mind, it shouldn't bother you too much. Anyways, it's really hard to put how I feel about this game's soundtrack into words. It really is something special. Oh boy, does this game have some good moments in it. First, the callback to the first game in Stage 4 is really awesome. It puts a stupid smile on my face every time I hear it.
When I say boom, 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 you say bam, bam, bam. No pause in between. Come on, let's jam.
Remember that phrase again? When I say boom, 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 you say bam, bam, bam. No pause in between. Come on, let's jam.
The first few moments of the song in Stage 5 are amazing because Takoyama is, you know, the greatest fictional being yet created. I will die on this hill. The first time playing with the first level was amazing too. Such a magical moment. I felt like a kid all over again, which isn't hard to imagine, since I'm basically a kid still. And the very ending was good too, specifically getting a cool ranking on the final stage. This game has a lot of good going for it, and every moment feels special in some way. PaRappa the Rapper is a jam, both music and gameplay-wise. It's a short little romp that can be beaten in an hour, and it can also take weeks to master fully. A slick mix of unique art style, charming characters, comedic story, inspired mechanics, and groovy music all combined to just make this a good time overall. I give PaRappa the Rapper 2 a 7 out of 10. I'd give it an 8, but I hate the onion. I'm not gonna just suggest this game to you, I'm demanding you play this game right now. It's like $5 in the PlayStation Store. Go, buy, play, play, play. Sorry if I sound different in this video. My allergies are really killing me, especially this time of year. Anyways, my name is Goose, and I thank you very much for watching. Now go away.